The Central Park Five were five teenage boys between the ages of 14 and 16 that were convicted of a brutal assault and rape of a white woman in New York City in 1989. The assault received national attention, and Donald Trump at the time took out a full-page ad calling for the death penalty for these five young men. Now, they were obviously charged and sentenced to pretty long sentences, but in 2002, Matias Reyes came forward and confessed to the crimes. Matias Reyes was a convicted murderer and serial rapist, and his DNA evidence that he provided actually was consistent with the evidence found at the time. So the boys that were involved were exonerated. Their sentences were vacated. It means that they were released. Those who were still in prison were released. And which is obviously something that is very good. However, but that meant that they served 6 to 13 years for crimes that they did not commit. And that led to us asking questions about policing, coerced confessions, things like that, because these boys were 14 to 16. In some cases, their parents weren't there for their interrogations, and they should have been there for the whole time. Were lawyers ever present? Things like that. It led to lots of questions and us really taking a deep dive into whether or not policing is in Black communities is the same as it is in white communities, but also how media plays an important role or an influential role in how things get done and the speed at which they get done, and sometimes how it feels like anybody will do when it comes to finding someone to blame for crimes. In 2019, Ava DuVernay made a documentary miniseries called When They See Us, and that also highlighted what happened, or a serialized version of what happened to the Central Park Five. So they are now exonerated, and they did go on Oprah years ago, and Oprah recommended that we call them the Exonerated Fives to help them reclaim their lives. They did sue upon their release, and the ending judgment was that they would receive roughly $1 million for each year of their wrongful conviction or their wrongful incarceration. So there was some degree of justice served financially, but they can't get the years back in terms of time or the experiences that they had to deal with being in the prison system. And then also you have to consider the impact to their lives and their families, because they weren't the ones who committed that crime. And also to the woman who was involved, because she deserves justice and she deserved to have the person who actually harmed her arrested. So there was a lot, and it was a very heavy topic. The more you know.